Hey everybody, welcome to week 5. So this week we're going to begin our studying about common discomforts of pregnancy and their underlying physiology. We're going to be covering this for the next couple modules. So we'll be talking about different organ systems and their associated common discomforts over the next couple of weeks. You'll spend a lot of your time in practice when you get to seeing women addressing common discomfort. So it's really important that you understand the content in these next couple of modules so that you can be effective at discussing the etiology and rationale behind what you suggest to women in the next couple of modules here. So I hope this is when you'll start feeling like you're actually getting the content that you're going to be using every day in your practice as a midwife or a women's health nurse practitioner. So in the next couple of modules, there's a lot of content. Each module has a learning guide, and I've posted a summary sheet along with some study helps in the module discussion forum, as well as in the exam helps study folder. So be sure that you go back and look at those things so that you will it kind of helps guide your study a little bit, I think, and give you an idea for what to focus on. So the exam for modules 5 and 6 will be exam number 3, open during week 7, and it'll consist of case studies. So if you do the review questions and follow the helpful hints that are posted, you should know the information you need to know to be successful on the exam. We are also going to be using practice case studies in the forum, so please participate in the forum discussion and also post any questions or comments you have in the forums about this content as well. Now, when it comes to Module 5, you'll notice that there are links to required course lectures in the Module 5 Introductions and Objectives folder. It's under the graphic of the pregnant woman in that thing, and it's labeled required. I think it says required course lecture links. So I suggest you start by watching those videos early in the week. They'll help you understand how to approach women who come in with common discomforts. It's kind of a general way to approach them. It talks about critical thinking and about documentation. And it's not necessarily geared to specific unit content, okay? So it's more of an overview that applies to all of the common discomforts units. And the content within the units applies more to specific organ system physiology and common discomforts that relate to that organ system. So this talks about more, what do you do when you're actually sitting across from a woman who comes in with a report of a common discomfort? And how do you think about that to diagnose it and decide what it is? And then how do you talk to her about that? So it's kind of, especially when Camtasia is geared to critical thinking about the office visit assignment, I want you to know that assignment is no longer in the course this term. So you don't need to pay attention to the content that's specific to the assignment, but it does relate to how you'll approach these situations in clinicals. And it's important because you need to have that information about how you think through this kind of a case study format. So while the presentation references specifically the office visit assignment, don't worry about those comments about the assignment. Okay. Remember though, the next exam is in case study format, so it'll be helpful to have that information. The other two videos talk about writing an assessment list, which is essentially your diagnosis list. Remember, in SOAP note format, the A stands for assessment, and that is your diagnosis list. So it talks specifically about how to effectively write an assessment list. And the other video talks about SOAP note writing and how we write effective SOAP notes. So remember that it will be helpful to review that content just because it is different than what you're used to doing as a nurse. When we say as a nurse, we're going to go do our assessment, well, that means we're going to go collect data, subjective and objective data. Well, essentially, when we're doing as a practitioner, we call that collecting data. And then our assessment is the assessment list, which is like our diagnosis list in our SOAP note, the A. And then P is our plan. So you'll be able to review more of that in those lectures. And if you have any questions about those, feel free to post them in the Module 5 discussion forum, and we can talk about that and answer those questions. So then in Module 5, Unit A, you'll find a video about dealing with common discomforts case studies. So this Camtasia is helpful for you to learn how to think through women's reports of common discomforts and how to apply the idea of thinking in SOAP note format to common discomforts. So if you watch the videos in the order that they're listed, the ones in the introduction and objective section first, and then the Module A ones, it'll make more sense to you. So I suggest you watch those videos first and go in that order. I find that when I think about common discomforts in a SOAP note format in my head, it helps guide my actions and guide the way I think about what the woman's telling me. And it makes it easier to organize the way I tackle her particular common discomfort. So again, be aware these are required course lectures. Even though they aren't specifically about unit content, you do need to understand and be able to apply this information as well. And hopefully it'll make you feel more like we're in a real life situation too, which is good. As far as the forums go this week, I encourage you all to participate in our forum discussions, and at the very least, be sure to read them and get the feedback that will be there. I encourage you all also to create your own case studies as you study this information and practice with each other. You can feel free to post a case study in the module discussion forum and let your colleagues discuss that. You'll find that that's helpful for you because it helps you to think through that case study format and the different steps that you need to go through when you're addressing a common discomfort. And it gives you more practice. So you'll be ahead if you get this kind of practice. One thing to think about is that our goal is to make women the experts about their own pregnancies. So we're learning the foundation for the physiological changes that happen during pregnancy that form the rationale or the reason, the etiology of why these common discomforts happen. And then we're talking about common discomforts and how they present. And then we're talking about what we tell women and what our recommendations are to them for their common experiences of these discomforts. So you will hear about these every day in your clinical practice. So be sure that when you remember, when you're discussing a common discomfort with a woman, your goal is to make her the expert about what's going on with her body. So you want to be sure that you always explain to her the etiology of that symptom or why she's feeling that way, when it should get better, especially if it's something that's time limited or associated with a certain time period in pregnancy, like maybe fatigue or nausea and vomiting, which is more commonly limited to the first and early second trimesters. You would want to talk to her and let her know that that's when she should be feeling better. And you also want to discuss what she can do to feel better. What are the relief measures or prevention for that particular symptom as that's appropriate? So we'll be discussing all that in the forums over the next couple weeks. As far as exams go, this week is week 5, so we have exam number 2 open this week. It covers content from modules 3 and 4. It's open from Monday morning at 8 a.m. until Sunday at midnight. Please be sure to review all the rules for taking secure exams. Be sure you show your whiteboard. That's the most common error. And remember to check IT support hours and make sure they're available. I know some of you have run into some remote proctor issues, and IT is who you need to have available to you so that they can reset your exam or do what they need to do to make that work for you if you have a problem. Learning assessment activities modules 3 and 4 are due by next Sunday, so a week from today for me, a week from today at midnight. So when the exam closes, those module 3 and 4 learning assessment activities need to be turned in if you choose to do them. Remember, you need to do a total of 5 learning assessment activities over the course of the term. And if you're not doing one and you want to view your classmates' learning activities, you can by just posting viewing only in the submission forum for that particular module's learning assessment activity. Some of you asked if you could take the quiz that's located in the module 3 as a learning assessment activity just for practice without having it count, and you certainly can. You can take the quiz, but you need to email me when you're done and let me know that you want me to delete that grade out because you don't want it to count for one of your 5 learning assessment activities. If you don't email me and we don't get that grade taken out, then it will count as one of your 5 learning assessment activities. So feel free to use that if you'd like. Just make sure you let me know you want the grade to not be there and I'll delete it for you. Module readings, you should have already completed your modules 3 and 4 readings, be starting into module 5. And remember, for the next couple modules, I suggest you start your work on the modules by reading the lectures and watching any Camtasias that are there, and then move on to the readings. Now, in these common discomforts, you'll notice that the Jordan and Varney texts specifically focus on clinical application of the information, while the Blackburn text focuses on the underlying physiology. So I suggest that you tackle the content by starting with Blackburn first, so that you understand the physiological changes that are happening in the pregnant woman, and then read the Varney and Jordan texts so that you can then read about what the result of those physiologic changes are, and those would be the common discomforts and what you tell women. You'll be able to find the common discomfort you're looking for by reading the Jordan text in the table of contents. So if you're looking for a specific common discomfort, you can go back and utilize the table of contents, and it'll really help you because that's all in the same chapter. So it lists that out so it'll be easier to find what you're specifically looking for if you use the table of contents. You also might want to consider making flashcards for the common discomforts that are listed on the helpful hints sheet that's posted in the module. And it includes includes things like physiology, likely subjective and objective complaints that you would see. If you make flashcards with all this information, it'll help you to kind of put it all together. So you'll have the basics for the physiology, you'll have the typical presentation for the common discomfort, being the subjective and objective data that you'll collect, and then make a list of normal common differentials for that diagnosis. What could it be? And then list the education, treatment, or relief methods for that discomfort. And if you use the study guide, the study helps sheet that's in the Module 5 discussion forum and also in the exam 3 study hints folder, it'll help you to kind of focus in on specific and certain important common discomforts. So as far as BBCs go, actually BBBs, I guess now, our open office lecture sessions. We didn't have anyone attend Friday for Module 4 open office lecture, so you won't find a recording for that, but you will find recordings for Module 3. There were 2 different hour-long recordings, and those are in the big blue button list of recorded lectures. If you have questions about Module 4, feel free to use the Module 4 discussion tab in the Module 4, and we'll talk about any questions that you may have, also for Module 3 too as well. But since there isn't a specific recording to listen to, if you come up with a question that you haven't heard or whatever, just post that so that way everybody will get the benefit of hearing that question and answer. This week, our open office lecture will be as scheduled on Thursday. It'll be an open format where we will discuss your questions first about any content that you want to discuss. And then we'll have, depending on how much time we have left, some more of a guided discussion about the content from Module 5. And we'll talk about some of the highlights of Module 5 and content there. Remember, the more of you who attend those open office lectures, the more valuable they are to you because there's more people there who are asking questions and discussing the content. So if you can be there, that's great. You can always also, of course, email questions or post them in the forums so that your classmates have the benefit of getting those answers as well. And if you feel like you really need to talk through something, you can certainly email us. We're happy to set up an appointment to talk to you individually. You can arrange a phone call with either Dr. McDaniel or me, and we're happy to do that. So let me know. Also, after the exam closes during week 6, I'll do the same thing I did this time, contact you if you don't perform well on the exam so we can do an exam review. Otherwise, if you want to review the items you've missed, even though if you did well, you can still do that. Just send me an email and we'll set up a time that we can get together to review that. I know some of you find that helpful. So as far as wrapping up, you will find information about the final course assignment popping up over the course of this week or next week in the term assignments folder. I'll let you know when I put it there. Like I said before, it's not helpful to have it before now anyway, because it's not an assignment that you can do piecemeal throughout the course. You kind of just have to do it once you have all the content from the course. And so you'll need the content from all of the modules in order to successfully do the final course assignment. So, but I know you probably are starting to wonder about it and think about planning time and that sort of thing. So over the course of the next couple weeks, it'll become available and we'll let you know when the term assignments folder will open. So if you have any questions, comments, anything that's bugging you that you want to talk about, feel free to send us an email and we'll be glad to talk to you. Otherwise, please post any questions or comments in the course forum and we'll be happy to answer you there. So I hope you enjoy learning about common discomforts. It will definitely be something that'll be meaningful and useful to you throughout the course of your practice. So I hope you enjoy it. And again, we'll look forward to seeing you in the forums. Have a great week.